Hi, everyone. We're so excited to have you here today at our book launch, and I'm honored to be here today with these amazing leaders and families of trucking companies that keep our nation moving forward. I actually came up with this idea because I was at an Iowa trucking event back in 2023, and I was sitting at a table with Dale Decker, and I realized after being there a short time that his family knew the family sitting across, and his grandpa knew their cousin. And I said, wow, this is something that needs to be captured for future generations to really listen and to hear about. And this past January, I actually went to my client and I sat across from the father, the founder, who was 84. And he had all these little trucks and he was so proud of all his work. And I said, we need to capture this. We need to capture it today, and we can't wait any longer to capture these stories for future generations. So this book means a lot because we need to share these stories for future generations to come. So today we not only celebrate that we've sold already 102 copies, and we are rated 159 in leadership out of 156,294 books. But we're here to celebrate these amazing companies that keep our nation moving forward. So today I want you all to learn why this industry is so special. And I'm going to ask the authors, congratulations to each and every one of you. I would like for you to tell the audience who's listening today a little bit about your company and what makes it special and what inspired you to share your story in this book. And what do you hope somebody takes away from your chapter specifically? Mary, do you want to start this off?
I'd be happy to. Thank you, Gina. I'm Mary Schaup, and my husband, Hans Schaup, is the third generation president and CEO running LCL Transit. And my daughter, Caroline, is on with us and working in the company as fourth generation. And so we're pretty fortunate for sure. And the company began with a gentleman named Joe Pomperwitz, who was delivering meats from his mother's general store out in the country outside of De Pere, Wisconsin, and Helen Vanderlinden, who worked at the A&P grocery store. The two of them met, and what started as kind of at the same time a little bit of a romance and a business venture turned into the company that still exists 100 years later.
Wow.
And they built a business and a family together over those years. So we have been celebrating our 100-year anniversary this year.
Yay, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Fun. We've been embracing it and celebrating it across the company. And so it's been just a perfect timing for us as we worked to put together the detailed history of the company and a short video to share the story, to be able to then share it more broadly than in just our company was perfect. So what I hope that people walk away with is just the kind of empowerment and excitement of starting a business, and sort of understanding that the company was built on a whole lot of people showing up, the family, generation after generation of choosing courage over what could be comfort, and choosing grit over giving up. Because as I know every one of these companies has experienced time and time again, it would have been easier to give up because there are so many challenges along the way, but they didn't. They persevered, and here we are today. And the importance is to treat all of our people, our team members and our customers, just like family.
I love that. Thank you so much. I'm so excited for this. John, tell us a little bit.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm John Pemberton with Pemberton Truck Lines, and we're on our third generation now. My father started the company back in 1982. And I think what separates us from, run-of-the-mill companies is our people. The very first person my dad hired in 1982 is still with us today, full time. She shows up to the office every day. And it's people like that we've built long-term relationships with, also with our customers and our drivers. I feel like makes us stand out from some of our competitors. So I think that's what makes us special. Something I really wanted to get across in the book and today, sort of echoing what Mary said, is that there's nothing special or magical about us. It's just hard work. people coming together, believing in themselves, believing in each other. There's no shortcuts, but if you work hard, work together, you can build a successful company.
That's so beautiful. It's great. Catherine, do you want to share?
Sure, I'd be happy to. My name's Catherine Ezzell-Joyner. I am the third generation with Ezzell Trucking. I currently work alongside of my father, Grover. Our business was founded in 1951, so we're celebrating year 75 this year. Kind of very similar to what you all have already shared. You know, it was born out of necessity. So my grandfather was a farmer. He actually raised turkeys. He couldn't find a trucker to show up on time. And he decided that, you know, through grit and some ingenuity, he would do it himself. So he welded some crates on the back of a flatbed and took off. And so over time, we have done a little bit of everything. But right now we are a specialized fleet serving the bulk wood residuals market in the Carolinas and Eastern Virginia. And again, not to sound like a repeating cog here, but you know what makes us special is our people. You know, we've got drivers who have logged millions of safe miles. We've had vendors and customers who believe our success is their success, and you know that's really what's made our history. I said yes to this book because you know our story isn't a perfect one. We've had tragedy, we've had financial struggles, we've had seasons that test everything. And I want other leaders to see that, you know, your business is built by not avoiding the hard times, but it's built how you treat the people when you're in those hard times. And I'm so thrilled to be able to be part of this.
That's beautiful. I love that. And that's why we came up with the title, because all of you, when you wrote your chapters, didn't even know each other. And it was so beautiful to have Scott assimilate all the chapters and come up with the framework for this. So Elise, do you want to talk and introduce yourself and tell everyone why you participated in this incredible opportunity and book?
Sure. I'm Elise Johnson. I'm with Leonard's Express. I'm part of the third generation. I still work with my dad and two of my uncles and two of my cousins and my fiance. So there's a lot of us still involved. We were founded in 2001, so we are celebrating our 25th year.
Wow.
But this is my grandparents' second company. So we had another company that would be celebrating 55 years this year, but we sold that in 1998. Today, Leonard's Express is a mid-size temperature-controlled carrier. We also have sectors in brokerage and warehousing and a couple sister companies in maintenance and a driving school. Really, I participated in this because I grew up hearing stories from my grandparents about how they grew up in trucking. I'm actually a fifth generation in the industry.
Yeah.
My great grandparents had a company as well, and I've heard stories my entire life, and this was an opportunity to make sure they didn't turn into secondhand memories.
I love that. Look at you have people cheering for you. Look at that. I love that so much. And why don't you share? Leonard's Express really was born out of a difficult transition, right? What made your family decide to start over?
So my grandparents were very proud of the company they built, KJ Transportation. And when they sold it, their people moved to the company that they sold it to, Priority Transportation. And those people were family to them. Some of them were actually family. Their kids still continued to work for that company. And he was very critical of the way that the new owners were running it. He felt like the culture and the values that they built were being forgotten and being diminished. And throughout all of that, there were some financial concerns as well, that the company that they sold it to wasn't going to last much longer. So they felt an obligation to start a new company. They wanted to give their people security and a place to come back to when all else failed. And that's what happened when the other company did go under. A lot of our people came back to us, and we still have a lot of those people working for us, drivers, office staff, all those people.
That's a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing in your chapter. It's really, really powerful. And John, when I read your chapter, one of the things that really stood out to me and Scott was about how you talked about integrity. And it's been such a defining value for Pemberton Truck Lines. Why is that? Why has it been just so integral into everything you do?
Well, to me, integrity means always doing the right thing, whether anybody's watching you or not. And that's how I live my life. That's how I was brought up. It's really not just a slogan for us. It's what our company is built around. And that's our name on the side of the tractor and on the trailer. And so it means a lot. Every decision impacts not only the company, but also the family's name and the reputation. And relationships are built on being honest and doing the right thing, even when it's not popular, or sometimes, and I'm sure everybody can agree to this, you have to make decisions that are going to cost you money in the short run, but it's the right thing to do. And so we've just built our company around the importance of that, doing what you say you're going to do, and make a commitment and live by that and honor that, whether it hurts in the short term or not. And that's just how I was brought up and how we live our lives here at Pemberton.
I love that. That's why you're great partners at Luma, because our core value is integrity too. So then it just is so incredible to have companies in the industry that their values really drive them and everything they do. So Mary, LCL Transit has had a remarkable history. Like you said, 100 years. I saw the video and I get so emotional because it's so beautiful. What has allowed the company to endure this so long?
Well, I think my guess is we're all going to use that one word again, which is, one word is integrity, because this company was built on trust between Helen and Joe, and then trust with their customers and trust with their team members. Helen actually, way back in 1926, had already worked in the cheese industry outside of Green Bay, Wisconsin, and had some contacts that she introduced Joe to, one of them being J.L. Kraft. And Joe Pomperowicz showed up, met him, and J.L. Kraft said, "Now you're the kind of guy he showed up in his working clothes, his driving jacket and jeans. And he said, "I can trust you." And he did. And he said, "I'll keep one truck busy for you." And Joe delivered. And then soon it was a few trucks, and then it was many trucks. And it was just doing what you say you're going to do, right? And then there were some difficult times. Joe had some health problems, and J.L. Kraft sent in someone from his office to run the company while Joe recovered. And so it was just a relationship that endured because they believed in each other, trusted each other. Just as John said, when there were issues, they talked about them directly and said, "Let's figure out, how we work this out for all of us." And so absolutely integrity, say what you mean and mean what you say, and follow through with our team members as well as our customers. Another is innovation. As I mentioned, we started in the cheese industry, meat and cheese. And at some point that had to change when deregulation came in, and that second generation, Hans's parents, they kind of said, we need to pivot. And they went into food grade tank lines. And that's where we are today. And so they said, we need to just keep moving and see where the opportunity is to stay alive in this business and see how we can continue to operate. And we're still in that business, but we're continuing to innovate. My husband, Hans, developed what is called the shaker tank. A brand new kind of tank to get chocolate out of the tank easier.
Wow, that sounds good. We
He
want
has
the
a
chocolate.
patent on it, yeah, and it's and so we're in the chocolate business, and so it's continually innovating in different ways, whether it be how we operate in the industry, which exact segment of the industry we're in, or what we do, and then the last is just a lot of hard work.
Yes.
And, everyone kind of giving it their all, and then celebrating the wins and sharing with each other through the difficult times as well.
That's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. We have so many people celebrating out there. Thank you, Alyssa. I agree. Everyone's story is incredible. What you all do every day. People don't realize how hard it is, and everything that you put in just makes such a big difference. And Catherine, like your chapter, you really talked about like the 75 years and being like a third generation leader. What responsibility, gosh, there's so many of you on here that are like multiple generations removed. So what responsibility do you believe comes with being a third generation? What would you say to John's daughter and that's listening, and what responsibility will she have?
Well, I guess I'm going to tie it a little bit back to what Mary said. I feel that weight the most on the hard days. With my grandfather, when he started, he was solving a problem. My dad spent 50 years building something that people could depend on, their livelihoods, their families, their futures. And so when I stepped in, it's not just inheriting a company, you're also inheriting a standard. And I think that's what, for me, becomes that responsibility, is don't be the generation that lets that standard drift. Your values can erode quietly. Culture shifts when you're not watching. Every decision that you make as a leader either reinforces what was built before you or chips away at it. So for me, I think that is the toughest responsibility. And, as I mentioned before we went live, I've got 2 little kids, 4 and 6, and whether or not my kids join the business, I want them to grow up seeing what it looks like to lead with that integrity. And so that's kind of how, a core focus of what's always in the back of my mind.
That is so beautiful. And Scott is on. So Scott wrote the final chapter of the book, and we have this vision. It's like, let's have authors and trucking leaders write their chapters and assimilate the similarities between these companies that are generation after generation after generation. And Scott, why don't you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what you found and what you discovered with all these stories that were written in this book?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my name's Scott Anderson. I'm a co-founder of Luma, and one of the things that, let me start off by saying, when we started reading these stories, we started off with a question. Like, we wanted to ask, like, what is it that allowed these companies to exist and to thrive for so long? Like, what is it that they possess? And of course, there's a lot of families involved. So there's leadership, there's people in generations that are willing to step up and help lead. But I mean, there's got to be a lot more than that, right? And so what clues are there? What sort of characteristics? Is there some sort of framework that we can build around some of these? And reading all the stories, we did see a lot of characteristics among all of the companies. And that's kind of where we came up with the HEART framework, which I think is also kind of apropos as well. And it's perfect for this idea of being powered by people. And HEART, H-E-A-R-T, H is honor the people. And one thing that you've all said just now, which I think is beautiful, is the fact that, I mean, you're really nothing without your people, right? It's like, these are your team, these are your employees, these are your family. I mean, you're all in the same boat, you're all working towards the same mission. And I think that's great. Any company that treats their people like a resource, I mean, they might as well just pack up and go, because it's not going to last. And you've really demonstrated that in all of your stories. E is equip your people. And I think this is kind of the tactical part of the framework. This is the leadership part of the framework. Because you're all talking about, you have to make the hard decisions. You have to do what's right, but you also have to lead, right? I mean, you have to be doing the work, you have to be building companies, you all have to be rowing in the same direction. And so that means, you have to set your people up for success. You have to give them what they need. And there have been a lot of stories, that you've shared that present that too. And in my chapter, I kind of go through and talk about some examples of that. One thing that you've all mentioned here too, which I think is awesome, is aligned to values. I mean, these companies are rooted in values. John, you mentioned integrity. Mary, you also mentioned integrity. You mentioned innovation. Values are our compass. When things get turned upside down. When things are great, they're great. Everything works. But when things aren't great, things can get really messy, and you need that true north in order to make the right decisions. It doesn't make your decisions any easier, and I'm just like blown away by, the good times that you've all had, but also the bad times. I mean, there've been some really hard decisions. And just to read the stories about actually, making those decisions the right way that are based in values, I think is just fantastic. And it's a great example. The R stands for resilience. I mean, we all know resilience.
You guys are resilient for sure.
Absolutely. If you're going to be in business for many, many decades, you're going to find yourselves in some pretty precarious positions, which you all have. And really, it's about, taking it. Resilience is about that ability to reframe something that's bad just to take the next step. Again, it might mean that you have to make huge changes in your company, and maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's more of an emotional thing, but the important thing is you take the next step. And that's the really cool thing that you see in those stories as well. And then the last one I think is awesome is tell your story. Elise, you mentioned about, being fifth generation and just hearing the stories and how that inspired you and motivated you. The truth is we all want to be a part of something that's meaningful, that we want to believe in. And so I think it's so important to tell your story. Mary, you mentioned, celebrating 100 years and then going back and creating your story, creating the video and really sharing that with your employees. Yeah, bravo, and keep it up, because I think it's really, really important. So that's the heart framework. And again, it's like it's evident in every single one of the stories that we've read.
I love that. Thank you for sharing, Scott. And one of the things we wanted to consider is, what is legacy? And I know I didn't have this on your scripts, but it'd be awesome to hear what your perspectives are on that question. Elise, do you want to start off and talk about what is legacy, or I'm putting you on the spot? So you can pass if you want. Look at all these great people are here. Thank you, Barbara, for showing up. We have people from all over the world tuning in today to see us. Thank you so much.
I think legacy to me is the culture that has been left for me and the values that have carried through all of the different generations. And at the core of it, we've all talked about is doing the right thing and making sure that we're continuing to move forward and do right by the people that have helped build our companies, because it's not single-handed with anyone. It's been a team effort, and it's taken so many people, and making sure that stays the center focus.
That's awesome. John, what do you think? What is legacy?
Well, it means to me, it's something I work towards every day, leaving it in a better spot than when I found it. Okay. And that's something I work towards. It motivates me a lot, and that's gets me going. And it's really what I'm hoping that it will impact, 50 years from now with my daughter and my nephews, that they'll feel the same way, and that, they'll, they will take the ball from me and they'll make it better. And that, at the end of the day, it's really not about revenue or trucks. It's just about doing the right thing and treating your people well. If you do that, everything else will take care of itself.
I love that. Catherine, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with John wholeheartedly. It's, for me, that legacy, it's Yes, it's great when you're making money and the days are going really well and the truck shows up on time and the driver's there. But, the legacy is what impact are you making in not just your employees' lives and in the business, but what impact are you making in your community? And are you giving back to that community? I still, and I don't think I really mentioned this in the book, but my grandfather died in 2008, and I still to this day get stories of people coming up to me saying, "Hey, did you know your grandfather put a new roof on my house?" Asking, "Do you know that he gave me a new set of tires when mine were bad?" And it's just those little things about the legacy that you have, the impact that you have on your community. And, you're basically the steward of your business during that time. So
it's beautiful. That is so beautiful. Mary, Caroline, what do you guys think? What's legacy?
I'll pop in, and then Caroline, I'll let you jump off of that. I think legacy has a lot also to do with being grateful and, showing gratitude to those generations that came ahead of us and honoring what they have done and the sort of standard they have set for us. For example, Joe and Helen Promperwitz were early pioneers in the industry, and they both received legacy awards in both. They were founding members of ATA, American Trucking Association, and of National Tank Truck. And, they cared not because it was going to help them, but because it was going to make the industry better. It was going to make the roads safer, the trucks safer. And the second generation continued that, and my husband Hans, and then Caroline together, both have continued that as well, and have initiated Call on Washington for our segment of the industry. And again, not because it's going to help us, but because it's going to make the industry better and safer. And so, it's showing that gratitude and honoring what's come, and having responsibility to do the same.
I love that.
Caroline, anything to add to that?
Kind of jumping off that, it's just amazing to be a part of and get to see the company that my parents and grandparents and great-grandparents have worked so hard to build. And so just to preserve that and keep their vision going and keep the values and the family environment and the culture that they built, and to just continue that legacy and keep it going for another 100 years.
Let's do it, you all. Let's do it. I love it so much. Scott, when you wrote the final chapter and you defined legacy, how did you define legacy based on the stories that you saw?
Well, I think it's exactly kind of what we just heard, I mean, it's not about like actually, leaving the what. It's about like how you leave the world. And John, you mentioned it very well, Catherine, I love kind of what you mentioned about, your children. You're like not only raising them, but you want them to embrace those values, so that they can be the best possible humans that they can be. And I think that is what we've learned about this, about legacy from these chapters. It's not about like the company and building the company and having your name on it. It's about like providing that meaningful employment, to your team so that they can thrive, they can live, they can be happy, and they can raise their children to be the best possible humans they can be, and like the trucks. I mean, they're doing good work, right? I mean, moving goods and being the lifeblood of the economy. And it's the impact that we make and that these companies make, and that, your companies have been able to make for decades and generations. I think that's what legacy is. I think it's the journey. And I think you all have told your stories beautifully.
Yeah, thank you all so much. Thank you everyone who joined us today for this incredible book launch. If you don't have a copy of this book, you need to go out on Amazon and buy a copy and learn about the most incredible companies that there are so many in the industry, but the authors in this book poured their hearts out to share their family stories, and you need to hear it. The proceeds of the book are going to go to the author's choice. And so Currently, we've sold 102 books, which equates, after Amazon takes their little bit, to almost $500 for our first donation. And we're going to do them in donations of $500 to the Authors' Choice organizations. And so, the authors get to choose who they want the book proceeds. Because again, this isn't about us. This is about giving to the community and giving to this beautiful industry. So Next Gen is going to receive the first $500. We have an organization with hauling. John, do you want to talk a little bit about hauling? I didn't know. Is it hauling for the holidays?
It's hauling for the holidays through the Tennessee Trucking Association. They gather up money to buy presents for needy children in the state of Tennessee at Christmas time. So that was the one I chose.
I love that. I love that so much. Oh my gosh. That is so incredible. And I chose Next Generation for the very reason, because we have to support Next Gen. And Catherine, do you want to talk about the organization that you chose?
So I chose Sampson Community College Foundation. It's our local community college here. But they focus on giving scholarships to students in need so they can either, further their education, go for their associate degree, and really land that a job that will make an impact in the community and in the state. So
I love that. So, we're going to continue to add to the list as the authors decide. But we want to give back to the communities that, that the industry serves. And we just appreciate everybody that showed up today for the podcast and to celebrate this beautiful book launch. There's so many people that have reached out to me to say, Gina, I wish I could have been part of the book. And we only chose 8 special companies, but there's so many more companies that have family-run business. So thank you so much. All the authors, would you like to share just some lasting words of advice about your company? Or we're putting in the chat, if all of you can see, we put where people can find more information about your trucking companies. But if you'd like to go around and we just share like some lasting advice or words of advice as we leave this beautiful Tuesday. Mary, why don't you kick us off?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I think one of the things, and we've talked about it, but it truly is so important, as we think about how do we maintain both the traditions that have begun in the family, plus, how do we balance it by moving forward? It's really through values, sticking to our values, and values that don't change even when everything around us is changing. And for us, we've put those into an acronym, SAFE. And S is safety first. And that was started by, again, Joe and Helen. And he used to say, we will buy the best trucks that money can buy to keep our drivers safe. And,
yes.
Now says safety trumps everything, no matter what. Safety is always first. And the A is adaptable. As we've talked about, we have to kind of make sure we can be flexible on a dime, both in big ways and small ways, to meet the needs of the industry and our customers. F is family first. We're a family, not family first, family environment. It is who we are at the core, and we have multi-generational team members. We have multi-generational customers. And so those relationships matter, and we want to treat everyone the very best way possible. And E is excellence for our customers and the way we do things. And so maintaining that set of values is just critical, what keeps us moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. John, why don't you share with us some lasting advice?
Sure. Well, I want to echo what everyone else said, that, values and integrity, always doing the right thing, even when it's not popular. That's what moves the needle forward. And just encourage people listening or maybe thinking about starting their own business, maybe not even in trucking, is to take that step forward and make it happen. I think Catherine said it earlier, there's a lot of grit involved. It's not easy. There are bad days. There are bad years, honestly. But you stick with it. You treat people right, and you take care of them. And if you do that, then the business will work out and everyone will take care of you.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Catherine, do you want to follow John?
Yeah, again, core values are so important, but I think another aspect to that that we've all touched on a little bit is not only following and staying true to your core values, but finding partners, finding drivers, finding employees that also align with your core values is really what's going to lead you forward. And so if you're all pulling in the same direction, there's nowhere to go but up, even on those bad years, sometimes multiple years. So
yeah, we're talking about the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, but I don't know, I don't want to jinx us, but things are, keep our fingers crossed. Elise, do you want to close us out? Well, we'll have Scott, but you go next and share your beautiful thoughts.
Well, I think going off what Catherine said, I think leading a company is like raising kids. It takes a village. You need to find the people that you trust to give you feedback, give you criticism, that you can take advice from in order to keep moving forward and keep your company moving forward, and continue to move your values and stick with people who show up for you and keep showing up for them.
I love that. Well, thank you for showing up for us day after day with your company and Leonard's Express. We appreciate you all so much. Scott, what are your final thoughts? Leave us with something to put in our pocket. That's how I leave every podcast.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's about the people. I think we hear it over and over and over again. It's about the mission. It's about bringing people together to do something that's bigger than any one individual. And I think that's really kind of what the way, a company can last for generation to generation. So, it's the values, it's the steadiness, and it's giving back to the community and leaving, making the world better, than when you first came into it. So.
And today, this isn't the end, this is the beginning. So continue to share your sunshine, and we appreciate you all so much. Thank you for being part of this book that's going to it's going to be in the industry forever and leaving your company mark. So thank you all so much. And again, all the companies, their information are in the comments. So all of you can go follow these people, you all. Their goodness, they're like pure goodness. Go follow their companies. Go work with their companies, and and let's just support each other, because at the end of the day, that's what we have. So until next time, be safe and be kind, and we'll see you next time.